everybody. Tim Mooney here with Tim's monthly real-time update for the month of January 2020, or for the months of December going into January 2020. Thanks for joining me. I am, as usual, way late with getting this out there, but it's been the usual crazy life that I live that leads me to put these things off as long as I possibly can. But here I am. Some stuff on the month gone by. I've been talking up Man Cave on the radio, was going for December 30th. That happened. It came out a little less than what I was hoping it would be. As I tuned in to hear it live, nobody introduced it, nobody said anything afterwards, and it started about like 10 to 15 seconds into the recording, so that I think anyone who happened to be tuned in to listen to that thing live must have been bewildered with whatever was going on. It's still posted as a podcast, and they've since done a little bit of treatment with it where they're giving it an introduction so that it makes a little sense as to, oh, what we're listening to is a play, and so people might figure that out. But I don't think I'll be pointing people in that direction. I will be pointing people towards the performance of Man Cave that is coming up live February 5th in Los Angeles. It's being streamed live so that you can tune in and watch it live as it happens. That's 8 p.m. Pacific time. If you're watching this from the East Coast, that means it's going to be like 11 p.m. your time, 10 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Mountain, and so on. But it's a chance for people to actually catch a live performance of a play. So far I've got like 0 tickets live sold for that play. It's a theater that holds 60 people, and I don't know that many people in LA. So if you're hearing this and you've got friends in LA, please send them my way. I will try to put a note on the scroll underneath me in terms of where they can go to catch the play and where you can go to watch the stream. And what I was going to say is, don't buy your streaming tickets until the day of the show. It's a festival, and so you buy the ticket on the day of the show that you're seeing. So somebody else's show will be performing on February 4th, for instance, and so you won't want to get a ticket to that show. You might want to get a ticket to that show, but if you want to see my show, February 5th is the day to get that ticket. Looking at the month gone by, I've done a ton of work on the I, Asimov project this month. I've gotten it down. What started as a 265,000 word book, I've now cut below 20,000 words, and I'm just 2 minutes away from getting it under 2 hours. 1 hour for Act 1, 1 hour for Act 2. It's Act 2 that I'm just barely it's sculpture. I'm chipping away everything that is not the body of the work that I'm going to be doing, so that what you're going to end up with is going to be a really powerful 2 hours of material. But that's almost there. So I did get to perform it on Asimov's 100th birthday, January 2nd, to an audience of about 6 or 7 people, and they were very responsive. It ran about 2 hours and 20 minutes all told that night, so it's going to tighten up more and more. Still working on the Mary Sydney campaign, starting to explore looking for an agent. Since that's not something I'm going to be performing myself, I need a theater that's going to hire 5 actors to put a whole production of that together. I've been doing massive email campaigns as usual. I did the big winter campaign in which I sent out over 20,000 emails in the course of a month. I finished that around December 15th, just over a month ago. And I did manage to pick up about half a dozen bookings out of that email campaign. So I may manage to scrape by for yet another semester and still, eat. But big challenge is I'm going to drive coast to coast. I've got a show probably tomorrow as you're watching this, at Francis Marion University, in which I'm performing Man Cave, and then I start the big long trek out to San Diego and then to Los Angeles, where I'm performing at the Whitefire Theater. So the challenge is to get some people in to see that, to counterbalance a little bit of the expenses I'm laying out in gas and hotels. Then once I finished the big email campaign, I doubled back and have begun to extract email addresses out of the Microsoft Word documents, pop them into an Excel database so that I can do somewhat more automated but more direct emails. So in other words, it's going to be a matter of putting all the information in to a single email and then sending out all at once to everybody in the state of Maine, in the state of New Hampshire, in Vermont, Massachusetts, etc. Each of whom get slightly different email with slightly different availability dates, but also each of them getting emails that are directed to them, so that the environmental faculty will get notices about Man Cave, and I'll have more time to go into greater depth about Man Cave for those people, and they won't be hearing about the Shakespeare and the Moliere stuff because they don't need to. Likewise, the French teachers, they're only going to be interested in Moliere, so I'm going to be able to send dedicated emails to those folks. But once that's done, the whole process, it won't be a process of tying up 4 months out of every year into campaigns. It will be, a good week or so of setting up the emails to how I want them to be and where I want them to go, but just a week. And I can spend the rest of that time memorizing or rehearsing or coming up with new ideas and writing stuff. And so that's my life right now. Also working on my keynote address, also known as Lost at Santa's Village, which is pretty much memorized, though it's not fluid quite yet. But I've got a big performance of that coming up at the Southeast Theater Conference at the end of February. I just did the APAP conference, Association of Performing Arts Presenters in New York. And that went better than expected. But I've done it twice in the past, and I've only gotten a kind of mild response from that. But this time, there were a good 30 people in the theater when I performed my showcase, which means 30 potential customers who might want to book the show at some point. And a lot of people, a good 24 or more swung by the booth to say hello, sounded interested in the possibility of a booking, and so I've been doing follow-up with those folks. So as that conference goes better, I'm looking to do that more and more. I was studying everyone else's booth in the exhibit hall near me to see which ones caught my eye, which ones made me think, oh, this is really classy, professional, slick. I wanna see what they're doing. They're clearly they know what they do. And I noticed a couple of booths had what they call a lighted box, which is like an 8-foot by 8-foot box about 1 foot deep, and in the depth of that foot there's lights which shine from behind onto a canvas that has the poster, the banner, the big display for that company. And so that seemed to that at least caught my eye and sucked me into those booths in interest. So I've been looking into designing one of those, buying one of those. I would design the canvas display and would buy the box itself to set up on the road where I do these exhibits. It's about $1,800, which is, given that I may make that much for a single booking, depending on how much people book, it might pay for itself with the first booking or two that I get. By the way, have I thanked you yet for being a Patreon patron on to my theater? You guys make my survival all the more likely out here on the road. I realize that most of you are not in Los Angeles, but if you know anyone in Los Angeles, please tell them about my show. I will And in the scroll underneath here, I will include news about Whitefire Theater and how to get tickets for the show. And I need to fill that auditorium with like 60 people, of which I've sold 0 yet, and I've got less than 2 weeks to do it. So anything that you can do to send somebody my way would be greatly appreciated. I will be attaching some photos to this, some video to this. In fact, while I'm on that topic, I will edit in right about here some photos of the month gone by, which will include a shot of myself and Bill Luce, the great playwright of one-man shows who did Belle of Amherst, who did Barrymore, and a good half dozen more. Bill passed away last month, and we'll miss him. He was a good friend of mine, wrote the introduction to my book, The Big Book of Moliere Monologues. He also worked in some of my Moliere stuff into his play about Moliere, which was really where I first met him back in, it must have been back around the turn of the century, 1999 or so. It was a performance that happened in Hartford, Connecticut, and I went out to see that there. And later on got to meet Bill in Oregon and later Arizona. So there was a photo of myself and Bill Luce. Other stuff I'm going to put up here about Man Cave in LA. There's a shot. I started to say shot and then switched to photo in the middle of the word. A photo of myself and Ben Folds at the closing plenary event of the APAP conference. He was signing copies of his book, and I got him to sign a copy, and we took a photo where we looked like twins. And it was like 60 degrees in January up in New York, which climate change is a thing, people. Climate change is a thing. So I got a lot of events coming up this month. Obviously, the drive to LA, I double back. I've got shows in Illinois. I'll be performing at Lewis University on the 24th. I believe, the 23rd or the 24th, I'll check that, with Man Cave. And then it's on to Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana, the following day, which I think that's the 24th. I think it's the 23rd in Illinois. And then down to Louisville for the Southeast Theater Conference, where, once again, I'm going to have a booth and presenting a workshop and presenting a performance of the keynote address at the same time. And then back out to the West Coast again. I've got a show in New Mexico, and I'll be performing at the Rogue Theater Festival in Fresno, March 6th to 14th, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have 5 performances over the course of those 8 or 9 days. So that's pretty much my news. Thank you for being Patreon patrons, and it's finally time for our big drawing. So we've got lots of. We need more of these little slips of paper in here, so we need more Patreons signing up. But I've drawn one. I've got it in my hand. I'm deliberately staring at the lens the whole time, so I haven't seen what I've drawn, and it's now in front of my face. Aha! This month it's going to Sandy Palombi. Good friend, formerly from Indianapolis. She moved to Minneapolis recently, and I'm not sure where she is right now. But Sandy, you just won a living room performance in your house. Next time I see you, hopefully, I'll get a chance to do something for you and up to 50 of your guests. I will look forward to that. Sandy has been one of our most generous supporters these recent years, and it's great to see that she's getting a little something back for her home. And if you'd like to be up for an event in your house where you can throw a big party and have a bunch of your best friends come out and see an event, it doesn't have to be in your living room. Any small, intimate space that holds up to 50 people is just fine with me. I look forward to sharing my work with you guys. Anyway, I haven't figured out what this month's piso work is, but I'll post something within the next month at least, and look forward to seeing you all out on the road. Thanks for your support. Have yourselves a great what's left of January. Thank you.